It's Monday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Murayo Afolabi. As always, I have the ladies. Good morning. How you doing?
Beautiful
It's
Monday.
a beautiful brand new month, brand new week.
Yeah, beautiful day to be alive. We're grateful to God for
How
everything.
you doing, Bissy? How was
I'm
your
doing
weekend?
amazing.
I love your hair.
Thank you.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. You can have this one too. She doesn't like to wear plenty hair. So I had a good day, good weekend. Saturday I was busy sorting out clothes. Some of my shipments came in and I had to start labeling and all of that. So I'm thinking, I don't know the day I'm going to slate for a photo shoot so that I can upload.
Importer,
exporter. But a friend of ours wants me to wish her a happy birthday. Her name is Feishayo Ndidi. Happy birthday, Feishayo. May God bless you and keep growing. Amen.
Amen. Many more years.
I really love the hair. Like it looks far nicer on TV. Like on TV is like something else entirely. I had a very, very, very eventful weekend.
Yes. How was the stuff you went with Oga?
With the children. Went. Everybody went, you know, and I was trying to do, they were in the lake and I wanted to do a video and then my phone fell to swim and the phone is yet to recover from the swim. So, but aside from that, every other thing was wonderful. We had fun. The kids enjoyed. They were like, they didn't want to go. Mommy, please, can we just stay one more day? Just one more day. I said,
aftermath of lockdown.
You know, but they are really, I'm happy that we got to spend that time together. Most importantly, my husband spent more time with the kids because I still had to do work. But
that's nice.
Then on Saturday, yesterday actually, I had my first sale of my cashew plantation. Somebody from the diaspora who watches our show, I think you probably watching. Like a lot of them just reached out and she already had some land in the Isenyi side and she was like, I didn't know what to do. So she bought the land, which is the difference between what we are doing. We're going to help you plant it in addition. So I just saw the notification, not from my end, like she sent it to me because the money goes into the corporate account and I was like, woo! Like this thing is really, really, like we're doing this.
So you're selling plantations or something? You're selling land?
Yes, we're selling the cashew plantation. So we sell the land to you. You own the land outrightly and we'll help you plant it. So as opposed to just buying land and then you are traveling to the village to be doing it. Since I'm already going, I'm going on behalf of everybody that wants to buy.
I think your phone was on that one.
My phone fell into water. I was going to give you guys the detail today.
I did not know.
Elijah, so me, you know me now, shout out day. So someone was thinking it would be possible on Monday, but happy birthday, Azima, from your mother, Raliat. And today she turns 5. And amazingly, she's a 5-year-old fan of Your View. Because her mother says she even dances to the sound, you know, when Your View is starting. But then again, I must say happy birthday to our very own, my daughter and my niece. The first granddaughter, grandpa's girl, that's what we call her. Tekia Mariam, my niece, Akashat, is 3 today. Happy birthday.
Yeah, that's a family.
Yes, we went to the house yesterday. That's our own Akashat too, the real Akashat. She's the first daughter with the name. So we must say happy birthday to her. And you know you miss Grandpa. She's still saying she's singing him, but happy birthday. Enjoy it. We went to the house. We thought we were going to have a blast, but it was today. Apparently, and the mother did not do cake, but hopefully.
Okay, I also have a shout out.
Mariah, this thing is going to take over our business.
Honestly, I try. Listen,
good.
I don't like.
This is our fans. This is our fans.
I personally don't like doing shout out because once you start, it will never stop.
You'll be unable to.
Every single, you get people sending in messages.
Give back is our.
So we try not to do.
Is our give back.
They need to send me a message that his wife is not happy with him. I should beg the wife for the show on behalf of.
Please, forgive him if I had the name of this.
So, but anyway, I have to greet this person because this woman, Yabeji, we call her, she's our prayer partner. She prays with us as a family. Her father was 80 yesterday.
That's the
Commander Oladele Taiwo retired. He was 80 yesterday. Happy birthday,
Happy
sir.
birthday,
He's a fan of the show. He watches the show. He loves the show. Happy birthday, sir. Many more years. We'll come and help you do 100.
With good help.
On that note, it's Monday. Let's get serious. A lot is happening. Subsidies been taken away. Nigerians are upset. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Right, we're going to start with the nation this morning. Panic red alert in Abuja over Boko Haram camps. Malami, Nigeria didn't make the $200 million cash deposit on PNID. Subsidy removal, a tough decision, says presidency. AMCON seizes hotels' assets over 600 million naira debt. Why NWC was dissolved by APC. Picture here of the coronation ceremony of Oni of Ife was actually there, but it was for Oniru of Iruland, of Oba Abdulwasiu Lawal and his wife Mariam. Congratulations to them. Okay, so the major headline.
Yes, so there was panic at the weekend at the Federal Capital Territory. There was a leaked intelligence showing that Boko Haram had likely set up in Abuja. So the security operatives have been, circulating a memo. They are trying to calm people down that they are on top of it. They sent some of the memos to churches, public transportation, and other businesses, so that they are just appealing to individuals to be on red alert. Once you notice any suspicious activity around you, you should quickly report. They are also manning, around the borders. There are some states they suspected, Nasarawa, and other states, neighboring states, where they are putting their people to ensure that those coming in are checked properly and all of that. I hope.
All right. I was going to take the other story from my PNID. So remember the $200 million fine that we're giving from the UK from PNID? Malabi was saying yesterday that we haven't paid that amount of money yet. However, what was more interesting was that the London court was able to see that there was evidence that $301 million was paid as bribe. There was evidence to show that, and because of that, they've been allowed to push further, to push further on the case. Okay, so let's move on now to the Nigerian Tribune. Why fuel subsidy had to go, says presidency. Maize scarcity, local silo concessionaire seeks quota for importation. Toxic waste allegedly kills 3 in Ondo Forest Reserve. Customs memo on Boko Haram in FCT. Police Defense Headquarters say no cause for alarm. And Affair wants FG to use 186 billion naira earmarked for schools feeding to fund public varsities. Okay, which stories are we taking?
My farmer people now.
Okay. Yes, let's start with the maize.
Let's talk about the maize. So poultry farmers are complaining, and I'm in that category. However, this complaint is coming from local silos concessionaires. They're seeking quota for importation. They said that with the silo, the non-performing maize, local maize is not available. We also don't have local soybeans, which means that the silos are not at capacity. He said that he's gotten papers from the president to bring in 5,000 metric tons of maize, but that this would only last for about 2 weeks. This is coming from, and then the Director General of Poultry Association of Nigeria, Dr. Analo Ankpa, says that the Ministry of Agriculture has already written to them in this regard, but we need more maize because of the poultry itself survives feeding the chicken with the maize. So we're waiting to see when the government...
I wanted to take this toxic waste.
Toxic, yes, go ahead.
So a Chinese company, Wood Company in Okitipupa in Ondo State, deposited toxic waste in the forest, the Omotosho Forest Reserve, and this toxic waste killed 3 wood, what do you call them? Wood cutters, this furniture, whatever. While they were in the forest, trying to get their raw material, and the fact that they were discovered by the Amotekun police because they were reported to be missing. They saw their bikes, and it was reported, and the Amotekun people went into the forest only to discover that the waste escaping from the pits that they didn't dig well ran over these people and killed them, 3 of them, including a young boy who was supposed to be a helper at what they do. Very annoying for me. Number one is that not only have we had our soil, poisoned, our environment polluted, we are still, suffering the loss of our people because foreigners were inviting them here without proper regulation. So the Chinese, you can come and invest, yes, but don't come and kill us because you want to go and enrich your country. Our people must enforce this. They must, somebody must pay for this.
Moving on now to Daily Trust very quickly. COVID-19, millions of children at risk of measles, polio due to vaccination disruptions. FG spends 5 billion naira monthly on IDPs, says Senate panel. Terror alert, fear grips FCT residents. Defense Headquarters urges vigilance. History will be kind to Buhari over subsidy removal. Okay, let's talk about the major headline. They're saying that there's a possibility that we'll have a measles breakout because of the COVID-19
Due to this report was done by, the World Health Organization along with other important organizations, and they discovered that due to the lockdown, the vaccination that is supposed to be, regular for our people was stopped in a lot of states. According to the account, some states have not had their measles injections. And for kids who have missed that 9 months deadline, they are at risk of measles breakdown before they are 5. And, you know, this could, it's even affected the polio vaccination as well. And, you know, things like these are things that we should take seriously.
I
like that everybody should.
I had to go back to the hospital a few times before I got my own vaccination for the hepatitis. It took a while, but thank God it wasn't like the measles vaccine. But I mean, it was actually scarce. Okay, moving on now to the Punch very quickly. Experts warn of massive surge as Nigerians abandon face masks. And this is the COVID-19 pandemic report. Curfew. Police detain Lagos doctor as pregnant woman and baby die. Chemical kills 3 timber operators in Ondo Forest. Interpol arrests 2 men for 14 million euro PPE contract fraud. Money spraying at Buhari's daughter's wedding sparks debate. And FG has begun investigation on the PNID bribe takers. Major story. Go ahead.
Yes, so according to Punch findings, a lot of people have dropped the use of face masks all over the country. They went and investigated Zamfara State, Benue State, Edo State, different states, Lagos and all of that. And they realized that people are not paying attention to the COVID-19 protocols anymore. But a virologist of a Nigerian virologist has said that it's not as if we're out of the woods yet. COVID-19 is still very much prevalent. We're not getting as much cases because people are not testing. And it's not because people are not testing, even the tests that are conducted, if we really want to gauge if we still have COVID-19, is to check the percentage of positives that come out of those who get tested. And if care is not taken, there will likely be a second surge of COVID-19. Right. So people have been going out, there are weddings happening all over, and nobody wears face masks. I see pictures, I see videos all over.
I'm angry that I'm not gotten an invitation to party yet.
No,
because the
you
parties
don't
are
need to
happening
go right now. Anything can happen. You need to be careful.
You say so. There's a human interest story.
Yes,
really,
there's a human interest, very sad one. So this a doctor was held by the police officers enforcing the COVID-19 lockdown for moving beyond 10 p.m. And she was responding to an emergency in the hospital only to get there after she was released and found the mother
Nima,
dead.
let me tell them exactly what happened. This woman came in her pajamas. She rushed out of her house after 9 p.m. She was called after 9 p.m. She got to the police checkpoint. First one allowed her to go because she showed the ID. Second checkpoint took the ID away from her. They saw her, she was dressed in pajamas, so you're a prostitute. She said, no, I'm a doctor. I have to rush to the hospital. They didn't believe her. They detained her for a whole 1 hour. She kept crying and screaming at them that, listen, I need to go. Unfortunately, after an hour, they let her go. She got to the hospital. The mother and child had died. The woman burst out crying, saying, listen, because obviously she wanted to save that woman's life. That woman used to be in the private hospital. She was referred to the Lagos State Teaching Hospital, and unfortunately, she lost her life. Let's talk about
implementation.
President's daughter's wedding. What is their issue with spraying? I know CBN said we shouldn't spray, but come on, man. At least they should enforce it. I said, come on, man. What is it?
So the president's daughter had a wedding over the weekend. Yes. And you know, our online newspaper showed us videos of the spraying that was happening while she was dancing. So, and we think that, you know, the law will take effect directly from the Aso Rock where the wedding happened before it comes to us poor people. That's what happened.
Let me not say my view on that one. Let's move on. Please, it's a party. It's a wedding. Moving on to Daily Sun. FG, 31 billion naira spent to fight COVID-19 in 4 months. Edo Guba Obaseki, deceitful, lacks leadership qualities, says Okumbo. We are ready to take our lives for Biafra, says Masob. Defense headquarters places military on red alert over planned attack by terrorists. Red alert over planned attack by terrorists. Okay, 31 billion spent on COVID-19.
Yes, so in response to the Freedom of Information request sent to the federal government by SERAP, the Accountant General of the Federation had announced that the federal government spent about 36.3 billion on COVID-19 in 4 months between 1st of April to 31st of July. And they also talked about the fact that they have, that's like 84% of the money they received for COVID-19, and they have about 5.9 billion balance. But in response to that, SERAP is saying that, okay, you've given us the numbers, but you need to break down for us exactly how the monies were spent, who got the money, and what you plan to do with the balance. And other notable Nigerians are speaking up about it. They are requesting for accountability.
We were here when they said they sent Lagos State 10 billion naira, remember?
Yes.
That's the only one I remember. I don't remember the others.
Everybody should send their audited reports.
Exactly. Let us know who and what.
Unfortunately, that's all we can take on Front Page Review. When we come back, we discussed this issue on CAMA. We're not focusing on the religious part because I think we've thrashed that part. But we're now focused on what are the merits of this act, so we understand what needs to be done going forward, so that people have a better understanding of what it stands for. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So many business analysts and policymakers believe the amendment of the Company and Allied Matters Act, CAMA 2020, will tone down regulatory hurdles and ease the business environment to stimulate growth. According to them, business operations in the country has been simplified and investors will have more confidence doing business in Nigeria. Joining us on the show now is the Registrar General Corporate Affairs Commission, Alhaji Garba Abubakar. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good to have you again. It's always a pleasure having you on the show, sir.
Thank you so much. Good morning.
Right, so the last time you were here, we tried to thrash the issue concerning the churches and all that. But we didn't want to not pass this conversation without addressing the core improvements that CAMA brings to the business environment. And I'd like you to highlight some of these things, especially because we've gotten a lot of reports from various NGOs, various organizations that have complained of fraud, complained the fact that there's like vested interest in certain areas within the organization, and they are handicapped in doing anything. So could you help us in a nutshell again, break down those benefits that we have failed to see of this act?
Okay, thank you so much. There are 4 key principles that the new Act seeks to achieve. 1, to entrench the various initiatives of the federal government on ease of doing business. 2, to provide for greater minority protection in companies. 3, to provide greater disclosure requirements for registered entities in line with corporate governance and accountability principles. And finally, to strengthen the regulatory powers of the CAC. As you may know, until this new law, to register a company under Part A of the 1990 Act, you are required to get a legal practitioner to depose a declaration that the requirements of the law has been complied with. That practice was actually inconsistent with the acceptable practices globally. Because in company formation process, the legal work is very insignificant. And that was actually adding to the cost of doing business. Under the World Bank Ease of Doing Business reforms, the World Bank measures countries based on cost, the number of processes, and the length of time it takes to register a company. Because of that requirement, we always have a situation where the cost of engaging a professional was even higher than the cost of registration of companies. So under the new law, that has been made optional. If you are the owner of your company, if you are the applicant, you can do what we call a statement of compliance. It doesn't have to be under oath. Once you sign that statement, then CAC will look at the document, and if it is satisfied, will go ahead and register the company. So you mustn't go through a lawyer to register your company again. Another key reform relates to the issue of minimum shareholders in a company. In the past, you require 2 persons to register a company. You don't have a choice. Even where you are the sole contributory to that company, you must get a second person, because the law says you must have minimum of 2 directors, a minimum of 2 shareholders. Under the new law, one person can register a company, and that company has all the powers of a limited liability company. It has perpetual succession. It can sue and be sued in its own name. It can hold properties in its own name.
What makes this?
Go ahead, sir.
What makes it different from having just a business name? Kindly just.
No. The difference between a company and a business name is a business name does not have separate legal personality. Where you are being sued in a business name, you are sued personally. The name only allows you to trade under that name and style. It's not different from you, but a company is different from you, even where you are a sole shareholder. So that company can survive you. It can exist in perpetuity. That's the difference. Then another key reform has to do with the issue of disclosure of persons with significant control, which means beneficial ownership. Nigeria has subscribed to the membership of various international organizations that promote transparency and anti-corruption. And globally, countries are interested in knowing who are the ultimate beneficiaries of registered companies, so as to check the activities, corruption, and other money laundering activities. In Nigeria, we didn't have a legal framework that provides for such disclosure until now. Because of the absence of that legal framework, we always had non-conformities under the Open Government Partnership membership, under the Extractive Industry Transparency International Commitment, and even FATF, the Financial Action Task Force. These were international bodies that Nigeria has joined, and they require countries that are members of these bodies to establish a publicly available register of beneficial ownership. We now have disclosure requirements for persons with significant control. We adopted the UK model of control as opposed to narrow definition of membership, because under the new provision, any person that holds 5%, at least 5% of the shares, or 5% of the voting right, or that controls the appointment of majority of the directors, or in any way exerts any form of influence or control on how the company is being managed, then he must disclose that status to the CAC. Immediately he qualifies as such.
Right.
This information will be provided at the point of incorporation, and whenever the company is filing annual return. We believe by this will strengthen our anti-corruption initiatives, right. And the register will be publicly available. Any member of the public can access this register.
Okay.
On minority, on minority protection, okay, particularly in relation to private companies, we have a new provision that says a private company cannot sell more than 50% of its assets or property without the approval of all the members of the company. In the past, the decision as to what to sell was vested in the directors. They can't do that now. So you can't just go ahead and sell the assets of the company, more than 50% of these assets, without the approval of all the members. Secondly, the preemptive right that hitherto companies usually include in their articles has now been codified. The law now requires that if you are a member of a private company, you can sell your shares outside the company without first offering these shares to the existing members. And it's only when they decline to buy that you can go outside. So these are necessary protection, at least for minority shareholders in these private companies. Then for foreign companies, in the past, the law says no company shall carry on business in Nigeria without registration. But a foreign company that is coming into Nigeria for a specific purpose, either on the invitation of government or any of its agencies, or on the invitation of any foreign donor or international organization, can apply for exemption from registration. They will be here for a temporary period, and when they leave after they have executed that project. In the past, you require the approval of Mr. President to get that exemption. The application has to be submitted to the Ministry of, to the Office of the SGF. That responsibility has now been vested in the Honorable Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment. We believe with this, it will make the process easier, right, and approvals can be obtained.
Let me pause you for a second and get a few more questions for you.
So let's go back to section 40 sub 1, the one that removes the legal practitioners, the charter secretaries and accountants on the compliance regulations on the registration. Now you've removed this set of professionals who over the years have built their businesses on this. How do you cater for that, the relevance of those people in setting up?
Okay, let me correct this impression. Charter secretaries and administrators and accountants had never been under that provision. In fact, why CAC decided to include them amongst accredited agents of the CAC was because the analogy then was that when CAMA 1990 was passed, there was about 200,000 to 300,000 companies in the register. If CAC opened its doors to all these 200,000 to 300,000 companies and business names, it would be overwhelming. That was a manual system. So CAC now used the provisions on appointment of secretary that says to qualify as a secretary of public company, you can either be an accountant, a lawyer, or a chartered secretary, or a firm comprising either of these professionals. So CAC now using that analogy says, okay, let's restrict right of access to the CAC and only lawyers, accountants, and chartered secretaries should be coming to do transaction with the CAC. But we are talking about ease of doing business. We are talking about global best practice.
Right.
So these lawyers, accountants, and chartered secretaries, their role will come after the company is registered. In fact, there is little or nothing to be done in terms of by these professionals in the registration process. Anybody can register his company, particularly now that the law says the minister can issue model articles. For the objects, you only need to state 1 or 2 objects. So to reduce costs, the concern is not even about the big companies. The concern is about the ordinary investor, the ordinary man that may not even have the capital to start his business. Sometimes he may have to borrow the money to even pay the registration fee. If you impose an additional burden on him to engage a professional, whose fees is usually higher than what you even pay to register.
Very correct.
That would really, yes.
Let me pause you for a second. Let me go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation with the registrar. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So we still have with us the Registrar General Corporate Affairs Commissioner, Alhaji Garba Abubakar. Talk about a question for the break.
Yes, I wanted to ask you, sir, concerning some of the checks being provided for companies. How do we implement them? Like, can it be backdated for someone that the cases have already been settled, they've sold outside? What will be the process to get implementation? I'm talking specifically about the shares being sold to outside investors, where owners now take, outside bodies take ownership of a property that they had no reason to be involved in, while those that have minority share in the company are now kicked out. And that has happened many times before.
Okay, thank you. You know, there are provisions, a whole gamut of provision dealing with minority protection companies, particularly private companies. The option open to any aggrieved person is to go to court. And if the court cannot reverse the transaction, he can be bought over from the company. His shares will be valued. If he can work with the other shareholders, his shares can be valued. But this new law will take effect immediately it is gazetted. So anything that happened before the new law came into effect cannot be reversed. You can resuscitate that. So as I have said, most companies, private companies, have provisions in their articles on preemptive rights and other protective provisions. Where those provisions are absent, then a shareholder cannot invoke that. The best open to him is to use the provisions on minority protection as provided in the law to assert his right before the court. And if the court found it is payable, then fine and good. Otherwise, the court may order that there were irreconcilable differences and his shares should be valued. Other shareholders can pay him off and he moves on.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, sir. So the new CAMA has made provision for reduction of filing fees for charges to as low as 0.35%. What does this mean for businesses? Can you?
Yes, this is actually a very significant reduction. Although if you look at the section closely, it says not exceeding 0.35% or such other amount as may be approved by the minister. So the minister can approve something higher, but I want to assure our stakeholders that won't go beyond the 0.35%. So this is significant because the cost of credit, the amount payable was actually adding to the cost of credit. And on a compliance level, majority of those that borrow this money, they hardly come to register because the amount was huge. Imagine if you borrow 10 billion naira or 100 billion naira and you are required to pay 1%. And under the old regime, it was not just 1%. For public companies, they were actually paying 2%. So you can imagine if you go to borrow money, there is no distinction in the rate of interest between a private and a public company. But just because you are a public company, you are made to pay 2% of the total amount borrowed for registration with the CAC. In addition to that, you had to pay stamp duty on the instrument. So this is a significant reduction. We hope with this, access to credit will increase and companies will be able to borrow money, carry on their businesses seamlessly. Thank you.
Let me take this call from Abule Egba. Good morning, sir. Are you there?
morning. My name is Apolua.
Good morning, Okwe. Go ahead, please. Welcome to the show, Okwe.
All right, I want to ask the lecturer a question. The question has to do with this dispatch company that was introduced. It's posing more difficulties, especially for post-incorporation, because if you want to file your annual returns, you have to send a document to the dispatch company. They send it into CAC. If there's a query, they send it back. It can be going back and forth like that. I don't know what's the plan to make it more easier for their customers, because it's posing a lot of challenges.
Thank you very much, Okwe. Registrar, did you get that question concerning the dispatch?
Yes, thank you, Doctor. You see, the challenge we have is these are unusual times. We can't open our doors to everybody because we have a responsibility to curb the spread of this pandemic.
Right.
And the system we have introduced is still a stopgap arrangement. Our target is to introduce end-to-end electronic system before the end of this year, so that you don't even have to come to CAC. You don't need to mail any document to us. You don't need to visit our offices. From the comfort of your home office, you should be able to submit your annual returns, pay online. If there are issues with the annual return, you will resolve it electronically. So this is a stopgap arrangement, and why we had to do this was because for customers in Lagos and other offices outside Abuja, even when they file in those offices, the documents have to be sent to Abuja, because we have majority of these records are still manually kept. So we are hoping that with end-to-end electronic system, anything you submit will be treated electronically, and you get your results electronically. I can assure you we are working assiduously to deploy an end-to-end electronic solution between now and the end of the year, and you should be able to do a transaction seamlessly with the CAC without having to visit the CAC. Thank you.
Let me take this call. Hassan from Lekki, go ahead, please.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
This is my question to the Registrar of Corporate Affairs Commission. It's a welcome idea. The CAMA is welcome by us. People that have nothing, have no skeleton in their cupboard, should be welcomed by all Nigerians. More especially in the aspect of registration, because we went through hassles to get companies registered in Nigeria. In the sense that more especially, if those companies are companies that require directors. Before, you must have directors. Now, you can run your company on your own. It's a welcome idea. You can be a simple shareholder, which was not possible before. And we have been having problems even with our bank. When you open an account in the bank, you will see challenges in the bank. They knew it was merely just a formality for you to have directors. But you will see them challenging you about making sure that other people became signatories to your account. It's a welcome idea. May God help this government. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, sir, I'd like you to touch on the bigger picture, because we talked about the benefits.
Okay, yes. Talk about
the bigger picture, because we've talked about the benefits to individual businesses and companies. I'm also looking at it globally, and how does this reform actually change the perception of doing business in Nigeria? I would like you to touch a bit on the bigger picture of this new act.
Okay, thank you so much. You see, I have mentioned the principle behind these reforms. This law came after 30 years. And we couldn't just do ordinary amendment. We had to leapfrog to bring our law in line with the best practice.
Right.
And in doing that, we have to look at what was applicable in other jurisdictions as it relates to requirements for formation and management of companies, as well as the regulation of companies. We have a lot of changes, particularly the Insolvency Framework. We have a new arrangement under the Insolvency Framework, which is in line with the best standards that you can have anywhere, what we call company voluntary arrangement, where if a company has difficulty paying its creditors, it can approach the court to appoint an independent person to manage the affairs of the company, pay back the creditors. In doing that, that will preserve jobs. In the past, any company that borrows money was usually at the mercy of the lenders. The lenders may appoint a receiver. If the receivership fails, they go into liquidation. And most companies that had gone through the process of receivership in the past, they hardly survived the receivership. So this is a new innovation. Secondly, we have two legal entity types that have been introduced, limited partnerships and limited liability partnerships. This has given option to businessmen either to register a company, a business name, a limited partnership, or limited liability partnership. This is in line with the best practice that you can have globally. So now, for the first time, Nigerian laws are now consistent with what you have in advanced jurisdictions.
Gotcha. All right.
But the only thing that will give impetus to all these changes is having an electronic system that will allow you to do your transaction with the CAC.
Right.
If with these changes we still continue with the manual system, then the benefits will not be realized.
Okay.
So this is why CAC is working assiduously. From anywhere in the world, you should be able to do a transaction.
All right.
As of today, yes, okay, go
Let me
on.
pause you for a second. I have to go on a break. We'll be right back. Continue with you. Stay with us. Don't go anywhere.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. We still have the Registrar General Corporate Affairs Commission, Alhaji Garba Abubakar. We have with us Tony from New York. Tony, are you still there?
Hello, my name is Zoe from New York.
Yes, thanks for calling. Go ahead, please.
Okay, I love the program. Thank you, ladies. You're doing a great job. I admire you all.
Thank you so much.
What I want to say is, first, say something about the law that I find it very commendable. The CAMA law, I support it. I'm a Christian, and I support it to the hilt because I believe in accountability, and I believe that every new law will have its teething problems. So let's support this law and watch it pass through and support it through the teething period. I also want to say one more thing that I'm looking forward to you discussing the hefty allowance packages of our legislators. If Nigeria is talking about not having enough money to run the government, I think we should visit what they take home and cut that down instead of cutting down the money meant for IDPs in the camps.
Right.
That, I know that's out of point, but it's just part of my view.
All
so
right.
I look forward to hearing that on this program, how we're going to revisit legislators' packages that they take home, those fat allowances.
Thank you very much, Tony. All right, we're going to take a few more tweets while we're getting back our guests.
So we have questions on Twitter for our guests. It said, why is it now compulsory to seek the consent of the Registrar General before you can reserve names for incorporated trustees, unlike before? Then what is the process of getting a consent code and how long does it take? I'd like him to come back and take this. I think that summarizes all the questions.
Okay, so we're told that we're having a bit of connection issues with our guest. So maybe take a few more calls. But while we're getting calls,
I'd like to just come in to say that many business owners, many people have business interest, entrepreneurial interest, but they're worried about going around the process. So now, thanks to lockdown, thanks to the CAMA law, we have reviewed this thing. People can go out and venture into registering business, go to their websites. If you're having issues, you can come and complain. But many people are complaining without having studied the advantages this will bring. Yeah. Many people ask questions and complain concerning this law without knowing the entirety of the advantage. So research personally.
Without reading.
I have Cosmos from Germany. Cosmos, are you there?
Hello.
Thanks for calling. Go ahead, you're live.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Brown, Ms. Brown. Oh, I enjoy your program.
Thank you,
every
sir.
morning. CAMA law is a welcome development. We enjoy it. To register a company in Germany here, it could take you just a week. Are done. But in Nigeria, it's a big problem. That is why you see many people don't like to come to Nigeria because of the protocol and the way the business is being handled. Okay, for me, it's a welcome development, nothing more.
All right. Thank you very much, Cosmos.
I would have also loved to ask him about foreign direct investments because a lot of people want to invest in the country, but because of there's no ease of doing business. But I think with the CAMA law, things would have been it has been made easy for them. So let's hope that we're going to be having an influx of foreign investments.
CAMA improves the regulations of foreign direct investments. We have enough of them here, and I think there's no proper regulation.
You see how PNID ended up?
We are not regulating enough on those foreign investors here. So there are certain areas like poaching of our forests that is not allowed, but you have foreign investors here in guises doing those businesses here.
So we have, I think we have our guest back. Sir, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry.
We lost you for a minute. Okay, there's a question on Twitter for you. Nima was going to take that question for you.
Yes, there's a question asking that why is it now compulsory to seek the consent of the Registrar General before you can reserve names for incorporated trustees unlike before. Then what is the process of getting a consent code, and how long does it take?
Okay, thank you so much. You know, incorporated trustee is a different ballgame altogether. It's not like company, business names. Mm-hmm. Because of concern about proliferation of organizations or associations whose activities may constitute a threat to national security, we have to be careful with the kind of names that we allow and objects we allow to be registered as incorporated trustees. In the past, you submit your names through the normal process, which will be approved. But we had cases where, after such approval, security agencies had raised concern. We had two options, either to reinstate the old practice, where before you register any incorporated trustee, you must send all the documents to relevant security agencies. They have to do vetting on the trustees, and it's only after they have sent a satisfactory report that CAC will go ahead and register. That process used to take 1 to 2 years to be accomplished. Mm-hmm. Or we introduce a requirement of consent. In the course of reviewing the consent, you will now know those that should be referred to security agencies, but majority that may not need to go to security agencies, you allow them to be registered. So we weighed the two options, and we consulted our customers on this, and we now settled for consent. The Registrar General approves the consent. Before he approves, he has to see the name and the objects, and even the name of the trustees. If from the names and the objects, there are no reasons to escalate to security agencies, consent will be granted, and the customer will receive his consent code. With that, he can go ahead, enter the name, and the name will be approved. On consent code, any name that the system tells you to be a consent code, it means it is a restricted name. This is not just limited to incorporated trustees. Even names that has words such as national, federal, group holdings for companies, such names by law are restricted, and you require the consent of the Registrar General. You have to pay a separate fee to obtain this consent. When the name is approved, you can go ahead and register. But the process has been simplified. As I have said, we are working assiduously on end-to-end electronic solution. But until then, you can send your request by email to consent@cac.gov.ng. Pay the consent fee through remitter, attach your application with the consent fee, including names of the proposed trustees and the key objectives for which the association is being established. Once we receive that, we'll process. In a matter of 5 days, you get your consent result. In the past, you get results, you get approval or disapproval within a day or two. But because of COVID and the restriction on number of personnel that are allowed to come to the office, we won't be able to maintain those service timelines. So we now give approval, consent within 5 days, as opposed to 2 days or 1 day in the past.
Thank you very much. So unfortunately, we have to wrap up at this point. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us this morning. I think we've learned quite a bit from you today. Many Nigerians seem to be happy with the act, and hopefully the implementation, as you said, would be completed with the complete digitization, you said, the end-to-end. Thank you very much, sir. We're speaking with the Registrar General, Corporate Affairs Commissioner, Alhaji Garba Abubakar. Let's go on a break. When we come back, we'll discuss the hottest topic in Nigeria, the increase in pump price. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So last week, the federal government increased the pump price of petrol to 151 naira 56 kobo per litre from the initial 148 naira. And the increment also affected the electricity tariff. It makes it the third increase in 3 months. Now, Nigerians are reacting on this new increment and how it's affecting their lives. We would like to hear your view on this. You can call us on 070-8066-8014. You can also tweet us at TVC. Can I please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read your tweet. So we spoke, I think, last week concerning the tariff. So let's talk about the pump price. What are your views on the pump price?
About fuel on Friday, it didn't funny at all. What I would usually use to fill my tank was not even enough. And you know the drive now, for me, it's a journey. Imagine that. So I really, really felt it. I personally think that they should even remove subsidies since yesterday, but since last year, in fact. But then, how do we, make other things easy? Because these things continue. The price of fuel has always regulated the price of tomatoes, every other thing in the market. So you know that because of this increment, we'll have increase on everything, especially food already. Farmers are complaining, paddy is scarce, we can't have rice. Rice is now 25,000 to 30,000 for local rice. And we increase fuel at the same time. There's a cost-reflective power bill now. So I would like to see government really do a balance of this on their own without people having to protest. Because once these protests come, the person that will join the protest is not necessarily thinking about what the cost of paying subsidy will do over the years. The person is simply thinking, I can't afford anything anymore.
Okay,
so they should do a balance.
What are your thoughts on this?
So I know that there's no right time to increase anything, because if we had done this earlier, maybe by now things would have balanced out. But we kept pushing the subsidy and pushing till this moment. And it's unfortunate that it's coming at a time where a lot of people have lost their jobs. The COVID-19 pandemic, we're just finally stepping out of it gradually. And so it seems like this government is insensitive. But I know that before any true change happens, people will need to bear the brunt. People will need to sacrifice. Now, it's painful that the people who are people we see sacrificing the most are the regular people, us, you know. But I think if we can just find a way to hold on a bit, things may balance out if the government is honest that at the end of the day, the monies they are going to be taken away from paying subsidy will be diverted into the infrastructure that we need. We have a problem with our healthcare system. COVID-19 exposed everything to us. We have a problem with our educational system. COVID-19 exposed that to us. But if they'll be honest enough to divert the funds they are saving from subsidy to those areas and make our lives easy, we should be willing to pay the price for a bit.
Doctor, your thoughts on this?
I think Nigerians, we've become so tolerant and we've become so accepting. And this is, we're under a lot of pressure, and it's as if that our voices have been largely subdued. It's such a pain to be a Nigerian at this moment, and there's no other way to say it. Everywhere you turn, there is hardship. And like Tony said from the US, when we want to talk about cutting, there's no money. The reason the subsidy is removed is because there's no money. So there's no saving the money to put somewhere else. There is just no money. But yet, when you take out subsidy and this hardship comes to everyday Nigerians, the government are still paying that exorbitant money. What's the cut in the salary? Like a major cut. So we can't say that, take out the subsidy, put it somewhere else, because they didn't have the money to pay subsidy. That's why you are forced to do this. And it's going to go up. Every month for the past 3 months, there's been increase in the fuel price. It is not going to stop. It will keep increasing. So as I'm feeling this pain as a Nigerian, that should I have checked out? Because those are checked out and they're not facing the same challenge.
Okay, so I hear you. But you see, sometimes we say we have to compartmentalize issues. Yes, there are no good schools, granted. We don't have power, granted. There are bad roads, granted. This is the Nigeria, this is our reality. But do we continue to live in a false paradise? The government is saying, oh, please don't increase the tariff. Oh, my people are poor, they cannot pay it. And we continue to live in this bubble for years. Let me finish. So government is there saying that don't worry, don't let them pay that cost-reflective tariff, because let us continue to live in this bubble of, okay, let's continue to postpone the day of tariff. Subsidy, let's continue to pay this 143 marketers who are collecting trillions. We say because we don't want them to increase fuel pricing, we allow them to run away with the trillions of naira because we want to continue to live in this fool's paradise. So you're right. Those amenities are not there. But do we continue to say, let us not increase, let's continue to pay subsidies so that and then continue to pay that we now pay that smaller price, but benefiting who? Right. So is the reality. Let Ope respond, because I'd like us to compartmentalize the issues. Yes.
The people living in the fool's paradise, the people living in a jolly world are our leaders. They've always been there. If they understand the impact of what they are doing and how it affects the everyday Nigerian, I hope you remember that during COVID, many companies slashed their salaries and they were unable to increase it back. So when the government sits down in that bubble up there and they're not seeing what is happening down here, they're not experiencing the same thing. No, they are in a bubble, Murayo. I have had conversations with politicians, and they feel that, no, but it's not that. The reality is they're not seeing it.
You are very correct.
Until you feel the pinch.
We are all,
you cannot see it.
We are all living in this country.
No, Murayo, we are living in a different country than what they are living in.
Okay, fine.
Because they're not driving a small car, they're driving a Jeep. I've driven a saloon car, and I'm driving a Jeep. I know the difference. So when you drive a saloon car, every pothole feels different.
Okay, so
all of them are driving SUVs.
Point taken.
The potholes feel different. They are flying across the road. It feels different. They're not feeling what we're feeling, Murayo.
Point taken.
Not.
We can choose to be emotional. That's fine. That's the easiest route. All of us can hear and lament. Every Nigerian, we have the right to lament. We're in this country. Absolutely. But we can also choose to look at the facts objectively and decide what do you want as the people. Yes.
Better
in the long term.
Run, yeah.
Let me take this call and I'll come to you, Nima. Adigu, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Thanks for calling. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, the hike in petrol and electricity, always it is the poor that bears the brunt. You know, these people over there, whether during subsidy era, they don't feel the brunt. You know, now that it is finally removed, they don't feel the pain. So the poor masses are the ones that always bear the pain, the cost of everything. So I'm really happy that subsidy has been removed. But how accountable would they be, you know, as time goes on? So all of this infrastructure has been a problem, you know, in this nation. Yeah. And now they are saying they are going to fix them. But how truthful would they be as time goes on?
Thank you very much, Adiku. That's a very valid point. Go ahead, Nima.
We all agree that payment of subsidy is wastage. We know, we cannot disagree. We know that it's corruption, and it's in the highest form. These people that you said live in a different country have actually benefited from this payment of subsidy. So let's take it out. Yes, we will suffer for it. My concern is any government that is sincere fighting corruption by just removing subsidy. Imagine this government came into power in 2015. What I would have expected, in fact, I used to boast about it because I campaigned that in 2-3 years, we will have a refinery and we will not be doing budget for turnaround maintenance of refineries that are dead, that we claim on the front pages of papers are dead, without exactly, you know, running the refineries and getting our own products, because we brought this problem on ourselves. Yes. How do we have our own raw material refined somewhere else in the world?
So to us.
We are the only country that have our crude oil refined somewhere else in the world. So the end gain of all the materials that come from the crude, we don't even benefit from that.
Valid.
We get the end of it, and then we come here and we still pay subsidy for it. So we need to take out subsidy.
In addition, remember, we're all here when they said that when Jonathan administration had negotiated. Remember that time where they now said they created the Shopee funds. So they agreed on, I think, 96 naira or so like that. So that Shopee fund is what we should be discussing now. What have you done with Shopee? So we know that going forward, now that you've removed the subsidy, this money you have saved, how exactly would it be? What did you do with the Shopee, and how do you plan to use this money? That's the question.
That's the trust issue that we have with the government. Because every time they say they are cutting this corner here because they want to build this, we do not see it. We do not see it materialize. And so we are waiting for us to have good roads. We are waiting for us to have electricity. We are waiting to have so many things. We don't see it. So the mindset of people is, why are you taking this is a way that you're just trying to help us, you know, cushion the effects by taking this, paying this subsidy for the common man. Now you are taking it out. You have not given us an alternative on how we can cushion the effect. What are you doing for us as individuals? So I think if the government is clear enough, you know, present what it is you want to do, and we can find a way to hold you accountable to it.
On
but
a lighter
like we're just saying
ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for the country. Let me take this call from Okpara. Okpara, are you there? Thanks for calling.
Yeah, good morning.
Morning. Go ahead, please.
Good morning to the people in the studio.
Good morning.
Please, the government have no excuse in punishing Nigeria. Enough is enough. During the Jonathan administration, everybody went to the street. Even in this studio, you people are analyzing this. But look at what we are seeing in Nigeria today. So how many years Nigerians have been suffering? And we have been paying, sacrificing. Every year, every government will come, we will sacrifice. What is all this punishment about?
Okpara, what do you think?
For this nation in the world, we cannot vote for anything here. We didn't see anything. Please, the people promise us change, and this is the change.
Okay, Okpara, let me ask you a question. Do you understand the issues on ground concerning subsidy? Let me be clear that we're on the same page.
Yes, we understand.
What's the issue?
Nigeria has no excuse. We have refinery here.
We don't have refineries.
We have refineries, but it's not working.
We don't have refineries. They are dead.
Thank you, Okpara. Yes, talk. Let me
We are not
have refineries.
Okpara and I were not lamenting. We are demanding equitable suffering. So you have already said all of us should suffer. Both of you are saying, bear it. This is the story. But when we are suffering, they suffer. They should also suffer.
How does it show to you that they suffer? Tell me.
What I demand from my House of Representatives is that, one, they make the sacrifice of slashing their salaries.
Okay.
And they also ensure that the executives also make that same slash in their salaries.
Okay.
Also, the reason this is happening, and I read the papers today, the presidency, in defending the president's action concerning removal of subsidy, said that there is so much corruption in the subsidy. Who have you prosecuted? So if there is so much corruption in the subsidy case, people have made money. They become wealthy on the backs of Nigerians. You are saying, let's remove it. Suffer, my people. Who are the people that have chopped our money? What have you done to them? So when we suffer, this suffer is too much. It is us who are suffering. They are not. The elite class, they are in this bubble. They enjoy it. I was hearing somebody saying that don't steal small money. Steal a lot of money so that your hand will reach justice faster.
I think you've made an extremely valid point, because we were all here when Otedola was allegedly accused of giving Farouk Lawan $650,000 for removing his name to be investigated amongst the marketers. Remember that period?
Even the Lawan, even the video of putting money in your pocket.
We saw it. So we see it, that those who have been the alleged thieves, they can't call them thieves, because some of them, they actually beneficiaries, because some of them alleged thieves, because some of them, they provide false documentation to collect the subsidies. So who has been prosecuted? Because
they were investigated.
There's word out there that when you go to the streets, for example, even those people that are fighting for you, they are being funded by some of these marketers. We go to the streets to object this subsidy because they are also benefiting. So that's why we don't want Nigerians to be totally beclouded by this push. Let's go to the streets, because those that are going to the streets with you, those marketers are well funded to fund those protests. So let us know what we're doing. Yes, we're going to tighten our belt. I also hear talk that we're tightening our belt. Let us see that there's equity. Those of you that are prosecuted us, let us see that they've actually been prosecuted. So, Nima, I'll take to you. Let me just take this call. He's been holding for a while. Good morning. Are you there?
There should be need for increment right now.
Sorry, we missed everything you said. Please go ahead. Start over, Mr. Ayo. You're listening to TV. Okay, let me have to cut that line. Go ahead.
So, me, I'm totally for removal of subsidy. But then again, this same government, because Tokwe is talking, what Tokwe is paying Tokwe here is about insincerity.
Yeah.
Which one is recovery, recovery or whatever that they started then? When they said they were going to remove subsidy, they called it they brought in under recovery. Under recovery. Under recovery was another guise under which subsidy was paid for years. Yes. So the people behind under recovery, because at the time when we did not call it subsidy, we removed some amounts of money. We now went back under a guise to bring in under recovery. Are we saying now that we will never see an under recovery and subsidy again? Because I don't want to suffer this that I'm suffering now. So
and tomorrow also
yes, another guys. I would want someone to pay for
the right pictures for Nigerians, because the truth is, if we've all agreed now that remove subsidy, the reality is that no, we're not asking us. No, having these conversations in 2012. Nobody's asking anybody any questions anymore. We all have the facts on the table. Google it if you don't know it. But the point is that let us paint the right picture where the price of petrol is possible that is going to increase. You might even get to 250, 300. That's the reality. Yeah. Are we ready for that? Because when that time comes, it is still the same people that say, come to the street, come and protest too. Because if we're saying remove subsidy 100%, as the prices go up internationally, honey, you're going to be paying way more than what you're paying now. So are we ready for that?
But the market forces will regulate it. So we don't expect that it keeps going up and it never comes down. At some point, it would balance.
No. The only miracle that will bring it up or down is that we start to refine what we are producing. And that's if that does not happen, if the thing continue to cross the Atlantic to us in this country, the refined products, we will be suffering our people more.
Dependent on them. That's why we need that Dangote refinery amongst other refineries.
Our government should be sincere. Are you selling the refineries that we have that you claim are not working, or we don't have? Why are we waiting for that? Dangote is a private businessman. If he comes into his business and he determines
monopoly of the market,
and he claims that I'm refining at this cost, petrol continues to sell at 200, 300. What are we going to do? Are we going to tell now?
So that's the real question.
So the insincerity is one of the main issues, because I don't want to come across like, oh, we're just lamenting, we're not being realistic. Of course, I've studied the numbers. Of course, I believe that subsidy was a scam that has profited a few class of people to the detriment of the entire country. Of course, we're on that page. But what we're saying is that let there be prosecution of all these corrupt people around the subsidy. Let's see prosecution of the high and mighty. Let it not be that because they have enough money, they can touch justice and squeeze justice, and the country will be looking, and there's nothing that would happen.
One thing I'd like us to also tell our viewers, because it's important that we leave a message. When those, I don't want to mention their organizations, when these people gather themselves and say go to the streets, know what you're going to the streets for. We're not going to the street that don't take out subsidy as we did in 2012. What we're asking for is that accountability, that insincerity issue where prosecute those who you say are still If you're going to go to the streets at all, let
slash salaries from up.
Slash
that's the protest. Don't bring subsidy.
Let us see IDP's life change. Let us see that. Don't pay 5 billion naira monthly to IDPs, and the IDPs people, they are still
suffering.
Yes. Kukuma let them go back to their farms, and we'll buy paddy and we'll be able to. Now, if with this increment now, the transportation that will land right in Lagos will kill somebody.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's all we can take on the show. But I think, do I take tweets for? I think I have a few seconds.
Yes, Mr. Adebayo says, when the price was reduced, it hardly had any effect on the masses. We need to devise our own economic indices and solutions that would have an impact, unlike working with contemporary economic indices that has not worked in our climb. Yinka says, if government didn't remove subsidy now, we will soon have scarcity. When government can no longer pay the marketers who will eventually hold us to ransom, the government doesn't have the money to pay them. Let's all be realistic.
Okay, that's all we can take on the show. I hope you've enjoyed the show as much as we have. Have a fabulous day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.